Hi. So the purpose of this video, so as you can see on the screen in front of you, is my friend and also my mentee for quite a while now, Nikon Gormley. And the purpose of this video is for Nikon to share his experience of having worked with me for the past year and a bit now. Um, because, well, I'll let Nikon speak to the reason because, but for me, it's just always helpful to know what's possible for people when they hire a mentor. And that's really what I'd love to hear from Nikon and for you to hear watching this right now. So, hello, Nikon. Thanks for doing this. It was, in fact, your suggestion last
It
week.
was.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. The the Wyn Mentee interview.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, it's a bit more of an easy conversation than like an interview. Now, I don't know if you remember the first time it occurred to you that maybe we'd work together, but I'd love to hear if there's anything that you recall about that.
I do, I do. I remember after it was probably 2 years ago when you hosted an online course and it was called The Three Principles in Business. Do you remember you did that?
I do.
And for me, it was really fresh because there weren't a lot of courses out there to do with three principles and business. And I noticed during that time that my work was heading in that direction. I was looking at the clients who were coming in and the things they were asking me to do, and it was a lot more corporate and business. And then your course popped up, and I took it. And I remember during that course, I got one of my first corporate gigs, and it was a 2-day immersion for in Thailand. It was the country's biggest and largest property sales company. And at that time, I felt it was way out of my depth. And I was so grateful to have that course to support me. And it went really well. And in my head, all I had was like in my very simple mathematics, I said, well, it seems to me that when I sign up with Win, like more clients and money seem to come in. So if I want more of this, I should probably work with Win more. And that was one thing. Another thing, it was probably noticing where the wind was blowing because again, I had a felt sense that there was going to be more business clients coming in who wanted more corporate type of work and engagements. And you're the only person who came to mind who had the principles grounding and had a lean towards business and your experience. And I knew that that would help me
Yeah.
to be able to do it.
And And so that was that program, if I remember, that was a 3 month program, a 12-week program that was it maybe early 2023,
Yeah.
I think that was. And I just went out of my mind, of course, as that's the first time we spent significant amount of time together in a group environment, other than when we first met, either on webinars or in person back in 2020. So here's what I also remember then. That summer, I was on holiday. I came to Thailand on holiday. I went to a really lovely place in Koh Samui to chill out for 10 days. And you and I, in my one night in Bangkok, we went out and like just like caught up with various things as well. And I noticed a difference in you, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. And I wonder if you noticed a difference in you at that time between, I don't know, maybe 2020 right up until the summer of 2023.
It's a great question, right? Because it's only you only notice when you're looking back. Because being so busy these past 2 years, I've rarely had a chance to look back, except in our sessions when we get a chance to reflect. So the question is, do I notice the difference between myself now and then? Absolutely. I would say leaps and bounds. That the thing that's probably more noticeable to me is a sense of depth. And what I mean by that is I'm quieter and I'm a lot more still, if that makes sense. It quieter and more still. And that's had an impact on my work and my way of being and everything else. Like it comes from that. And if I were to paint a different picture, it would be the roots feel deeper. And if I were a tree, the roots of the tree feel deeper, which has allowed the tree to grow stronger. I have a I have a better discernment of thought. I feel like I can see it more deeply. I can see mind, consciousness, and thought at a deeper level. I've I've been reading Elsie Spittle books, and I feel like I can understand what she's talking about at a deeper level. Like I can see what she's pointing to beyond the words. I can see it. And I always love knowing that because secretly that's how I've been measuring myself. Like, to what degree do I understand the Three Principles books that the original teachers were writing about? And like I go back and read Sydney Banks' books and I see it differently. And I'm like, I had that experience like, is this the same book? Did he write another book? And I noticed that my work has a deeper impact. It takes less to create impact. I'm not trying as hard, and I pick up on things faster. Of like, oh, this is what they're stuck on, they being the client, or this is what would really make a difference in their life.
Well, in listening to you, and I think that's very accurate from my external perspective and spending a lot of time with you over the last couple of years. And what I remember back in that, we went out for a couple of drinks and we had dinner in Bangkok in that summer of 2023. And what I remember is exactly an element of what you said, that you'd slow down. And you also said a few things about your established business and the fact that that had just really um, made a massive step change. And what I remember you saying was, I want this to be a great place for my employees to come to work who teach kids martial arts in schools. And I remember smiling to myself inside saying, I don't know if the Nikon that I knew a few years ago would have said or thought that. And I went, yeah, now I know why that business is thriving. But it wasn't so much the fact of what it was thriving. It was the fact of where it was coming from in you that really struck me. And I went, he's on to something here that I wonder if he knows. That's what I remember, having that big smile inside when I was listening to you over that dinner.
Right. I reckon that's it too, and is if I didn't know it then, I have a better sense of it now. And
Yeah,
I realize how big of a deal it is because when you have a sense of it, you know you have a better sense of how to ride that wave or catch that wind and let it take you where it takes you.
yeah.
Whereas before it was maybe like catching it every now and then, like getting lucky. You're like, oh, it works now. Then but not knowing how it works probably held me back a lot more than I thought. But now getting a deeper sense of how the mind works and how joy works and how where to look to find my best really creates step change.
So we started working together more intensively 15 months ago in the summer
Right.
of 2024. Um, and in the couple of months leading up to that, we had conversations about us working together in a more structured and intensive way. What are your recollections of those conversations, if anything, right now?
I reckon my recollections are how easy and safe it felt because the way you would put it on the table and you would let it breathe, so to speak. You would let the offer breathe. And being me is I like things really structured and clear. And I believe that your background in business and corporate really, really helps with that. And like you can really see where the edges are, the timelines. It just puts my brain at ease, which really was very inviting and welcoming. Because I've seen a lot of apprentice mentee offers that weren't very clear, and that always something for me that made me not want to go there if it wasn't clear and structured. But in our earlier conversations during that time, because things were so clear and structured, it was a lot easier for me to make that decision. And also, I think another thing I recall is like I really at some point it really clicked that you really believed the things you were saying that you saw in me and you saw for me. Like you weren't full of shit.
Yeah, that's true.
I,
I had
I
a
don't remember what when it clicked, but I remember it's like, oh, this guy might just be crazy enough. Like he really does believe this, like the things he sees for me and available to me. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like I don't believe in myself that in that way, but I can borrow Wynn's belief and we'll see where it goes. And it worked out pretty damn well.
Yeah, well, now I remember that. I remember
Yeah,
we had a pretty much a conversation like that and said something
yeah,
like, well, until I believe in myself, I'll borrow yours. And I went, that's good
yeah,
enough, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
the one thing I absolutely know this, and I know it's true for everyone I invite into that conversation to work with me
Mm.
for a year in the way that you and I have and a bunch of other people have in the last 6 or 7 years. I have to see that for them what's possible. I have to get that good feeling, which goes back to that conversation I mentioned of a dinner in 2023. I thought, okay, there's something in this guy that's really alive now, and then a year later, it's just like, okay, this is what I think is possible for you. Here's what's available with no promises. Um, but I also remember that you had reservations and challenges in your mind before you committed,
Yeah. We
and
should
I'd
talk
love to
about those
hear
things.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the time, the fee for the mentorship, the apprenticeship was more money than I've ever made in my entire life in a year. B, did I mention it was more money than I've ever made? And no, more money than I ever spent on anything ever. Like more money than it was probably as much as I spent on like a year at like a top tier business school. And it was so daunting. And then I had that moment of I think I credit myself for that. I have this ability to like fuck it. Like, all right, fuck it. Let's just we'll figure this shit out. I think that too, because I told you my fears. And then you being such the great mentor you are, it's like we'll figure it out together. And I really believe that. I really believe that you were gonna help me figure it out along the way. And we set up a payment plan. And to my surprise, I made more money this year than I've ever made in my professional career. And I did it. And I was like, huh. And what was great because it wasn't this big like the clouds parted, then like God's hand gifted me this money to do it. It was brick by brick. And it was literally brick by brick, paying the mentorship and growing as I went along. And now I can do it. And now like I would say a side benefit is that my relationship with money has really changed because I'm not afraid of making that much money. I'm not afraid of having that much money. And I know that I can do it.
You know what I know helps me and has helped everyone, and I'm pretty sure you included, that we've had conversations about the value of this to potential clients, to people out there in the world, whether they are private clients who come for coaching to get more clarity, peace of mind, more enjoyment and fun out of life, or whether they want specific things in their life, such as they want to, double their business or they want to grow their, whether they're a founder, whether they're an owner, whether they are a managing director of a company or a director, then the inner world and as well the outer results. And I credit you to the fact that you were continually curious about looking there to see what value there were, what value was available for your clients. And I know that that's continued from the conversation we had just before we started recording today, that what you see as possible in the value of what people and businesses get from working with you, that's getting clearer and clearer for you.
Right. I think that's one of the things that has deepened as well is seeing what's really on offer and what's really possible for the clients who come to me and the clients who I approach to work with. I think before I probably took it for granted that like just clarity of mind, like great, you know. Been working with you, I really that's one of the biggest things I got from you when is seeing the dollar value of having a clear and present mind in work, in business, in life, in relationships, and watching my clients scale, not only scale their businesses, but grow and generate revenue worth like millions of dollars or hundreds and thousands of dollars has been astounding. And it all comes from them being more clear and present in their work and businesses. And so it's given me more confidence when I talk to clients who come in and then say, "Oh, this is what I'm up to," and I can confidently talk to them and say, "This is what you think you're up to, but this is what's really possible." And it's not, and it's coming from a real place because I've done it for myself and for clients too. And to me, that's such an amazing gift. It's call it a vertical, a huge jump in the vertical of my coaching that I can take people. Yeah, and it feels so nice to finally have the confidence to say things like that to clients. That like you could really, this could really be at another level if you wanted
Yeah.
to, and this is what it would take.
Well, and to me, in listening to you, your that's your truth for them. And when you reflected back on our conversations and you thought, oh, this guy's not full of shit. This guy really means it. There's a feeling of truth in it. And that's what I think that is what people are noticing in you now.
Right.
That,
And then, yeah. And in a way that takes care of a lot of the heavy lifting in, I would say, the marketing, the business development, because people can just feel it. Like I've gone to networking events and people just like, let's have coffee. I don't know what it is about you, but I feel like I need to talk to you. Or people just call me up like, hey, you want to go for, we want to invite you to a meeting to talk about a project. And then it turns out to be it's for the central government of Thailand, right? So there's this momentum being built, and I really feel it's really based on the truth that I'm walking and talking. Like everything is aligned now. Yeah. Whereas before, I think I might have not, like earlier in this conversation, not really believed in myself and not really believed the things that I was saying I could help people do. And now I'm just telling stories of the things I've done, and that's enough.
there's one way that I'd summarize what goes on in people, you and me and everyone else I know who've had that change that you've just mentioned. Classically, we have a thought, an idea, or we see an opportunity, and then our thinking gets in the way and we talk ourselves out of it, whether that's insecure thinking or whatever that flavor of thinking is. So we have an idea and then we talk ourselves out of it. What I notice that makes the big difference is the first half and ignore the second. Have an idea and see how it goes. Or a way that you and I talked about it, I think about a year ago, we just talked about rolling the dice and then rolling the dice and then rolling the dice.
Yeah. These past 15 months has been a continuous rolling of the dice. And it turns out the more you roll the dice, the better the dice get. That's how it works, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well, you can't
yeah,
throw a six until you roll a dice.
right. And also, I want to tell people like like listening to this, you might think like, oh, it was all just how do you say in English, just all like rose petals and bubbles, and it was just amazing the whole time. It was fucking hard. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of making asks that were uncomfortable. Remember, we had that one client where I had a figure, I had a figure in my head in one ask, and I was insecure about it, and you called me on it, and you told me to like double and triple it, and I said fuck it, and I did, and it was the most amazing thing ever because I never asked for that much money from anybody before. Um, all the client work, it was really hard because I was really being stretched far past anything I was comfortable with. For example, working for the central government and putting and designing curriculums based on 3 principles and elevating groups of 30 and 50 leaders, like that's fucking hard. But I'm really happy that I had you in my corner to talk to cry about, to cry to, right? Like how many times have I called you like, Wyn, I can't do it. I'm in my head. Like I'm done. She like, I give up. At one point, I remember I called you like, Wyn, I'm done. I'm not coaching anymore. I give up. It's too hard. I don't want to do this anymore. It was fucking hard. And looking back now, that's part of rolling the dice.
Well, that, I mean, there have been a few conversations like that, but there was one in particular that I remember. I'm not going to go
Sure.
into details in
Yeah.
public forum, right? And yeah, to me, what came from that conversation, because you were so brutally honest with yourself and with me as to where you were at,
Right.
and I knew the nature of where you were
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
at. And if I remember, it was something like this, without going into too many, details on it. It was you thought it was all up to you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it felt like it was all coming on your shoulders, and then, effectively, a phrase that you said earlier on about what does the heavy lifting.
Mm.
And I know what does the heavy lifting isn't me, and it isn't you. What does the heavy lifting is what we're made of. The formless spiritual energy that's within us, that is infinitely wiser, thankfully, infinitely smarter, thankfully, than I ever can be. And me knowing that to be just a fundamental truth for human beings, and holding that space for you and everybody else, I know that makes a difference, because we get over ourselves because it's here, only here, not in reality. It's in the illusion of how thought can look to us, and how personally we can take things, and it's a simple misunderstanding that seems so freaking real.
Yeah. Mm. I think that's part of the the I don't the words that come to mind are dark side, but it doesn't mean like ooh the like bad dark side, but it's just the things you have to face in this work to grow beyond them, so to speak. And that was a big theme of our work, of learning, of really seeing my habitual my habitual thought of everything being on my shoulders and being up to me to create, to do, to pull miracles out of my ass. Like it was just so hard. But then once I saw through that, things got infinitely easier. But I had to go down there first. And in looking back is that work helps me help my clients much more because I'm not talking through my ass when I say I've been through this shit. Like I've really been there and I really get what it's like to really believe the thinking they have on. Like I can say it, like I've been there and I get it. And that's part of it too. And that's what I would say to people listening is that if they're really ready to stretch and really do the work, that this is for them and that it's not a walk in the park. But you have great company along the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Well, I think it's great what you just shared, and I was smiling because I know that to be true for me too, about the whole notion of everything I've gone through is an example of what anyone can go through.
Mm.
And seeing through whatever that is universally true for everybody.
Yeah.
But it needs to be our reality in order for us to feel, or well, for other people to feel the truth of it. That, exactly what you said, I've been there. Not from a platitudes, hey, calm down kind of thing, but oh, this is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason I think that matters is that everything in life is an example of everything in life,
Yep.
seen from a certain perspective. Now, that may sound mysterious to you watching and listening, and yet that becomes far more evident. And, you know, that would be my job with anyone I work with, is for them to see that. There's one question that
Mm.
I'd love you to share really.
Sure.
Because back in September of last year, because a part of the program that you were on, that you also came on small group mentoring program. That is a different program,
Yeah.
but that is included in the agreement that we had, and in that far more intensive program that we've had together. But at the beginning of that, in September of last year, I asked you and everybody for their wishes for the next year ahead. Now, I think you remember what those wishes were.
I do. I do. I remember. And I think I was feeling that particular day, I was in a courageous mood. So I think what came out of my mouth is I want to make a shit ton of money and I want to get married and have my own family. And that was in September, right? Little did I know. That was all to unfold within 30 days. I think I met my then, how do I, in English? No, and 30 days after that, I met a lady who I got married to 2 weeks ago. And within a year, it all happened in a year. And then soon after that, I I got corporate work to fly to the Philippines, to Indonesia. I flew to Prague for the World Listening Conference, and I got all these corporate contracts that were just more money than I've ever made in my coaching business, ever. So already within the first half of the year, I've made more money than I did in all of the previous year. So it was already an amazing experience. Like, oh, miracles do work. Like, oh, this is great. Yeah. And I knew it was coming from spending time with people who really believed in me more than I believed in me. And it's really deceptively simple. It's amazing what happens when you get out of your own way.
Yeah, it does sound so simple, and it seems like, oh, that's all I have to do. But yet it's so insidious within us that we don't even really realize how many times that we are getting in our own way without knowing it. Well, to
Right,
me, I
right.
know I still do it on an hourly basis when I'm awake. I'm pretty sure every hour there'll be something I don't even know I'm doing that's me getting in my way. And that's
And
human.
yeah,
It's nothing, it's not a fatal flaw or anything, because there's never going to be perfection as a human. But I love the notion of seeing through more and more of the illusion of what gets in our way and what it's made of. And I know the impact that that's had on, well, the two things that you said, the fact that you then met somebody within a month who you're
yeah,
now married to,
yeah.
and the same freedom of mind and how that played out has also been behind all the results that you've been gaining, whether it's in your one-to-one coaching and in your corporate work
Mm,
since.
yeah. And I also credit myself for like like that part too, because that first half, I realized one of my special, maybe it's not special, maybe it's I have a habit of a willingness to try shit. Like fuck it, let's just try shit and see what happens. No matter what it looked like, no matter the odds, I was willing to roll the dice, and it paid off. And also, I realized it must have come full circle for you too, because you were at my wedding in Bangkok, and you were the one who was giving one of the speeches as well. So from listening to me share my wishes to being on stage at my wedding, that must have been a really nice experience as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you asked me a few days before the wedding to give a speech, I was moved, and I'm moved now,
Oh,
remembering of how big a deal that is, that and how big an honor that is that you asked me to do that.
yeah.
And I had to kind of reel myself in a little bit in giving that speech, because I could have easily lost it given the depth of feeling for you and for Julie, and well, and everything that's happening in your life. It's phenomenal. So I'm delighted that here you are sharing what's possible for people here.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview is because I want other people to know it's possible against all odds. It because that's sometimes it felt like this. Against all odds, it's possible if you have the right people in your corner. And Wyn Morgan, sir, you are definitely one of those right people. That if you have Wyn Morgan in your corner, cool shit happens.
Yeah. Thank you, Nikon. I just want to highlight three ways of how I see this being impactful for you and the other people I work with. And it's the most important thing is what we call grounding, the understanding of the truth of the three principles, as articulated by Sydney Banks, to really see the nature of thought, to see the nature of mind, to see the nature of consciousness. And that's what's behind in my that's what does the heavy lifting is the understanding takes care of everything. And what we also do, what you and I have done, is that we get to talk about your clients as case studies, and I get to listen to recordings and proposals and meetings in order for us to then compare notes about, okay, what could have made this more impactful? Because the one thing when I'm working with coaches, I only care about working with people who want to be more than helpful.
Mm,
If someone wants to change a client's life, then I'm up to having a conversation. If they just want to be helpful and be tactical and change some behavioral stuff, it doesn't do enough for me. It's not enough of a leverage to really make my heart leap. So I'm not into it. But if someone wants to become world class and absolutely transform someone's experience of life and transform their business, if that's the corporation that they want to play in or whatever world they want to play in. So, first thing is grounding, second is impact, and the third thing is growing the business in a way that works. So, for example, I've got some mentees right now who are great on social media, and that's how their business has evolved and has grown to become huge. And someone else I'm thinking of has a really big community, and they work with the community on a weekly basis, and that's forming and reforming and transforming as we speak. And other people, it is, I just want to work with people who are this in this part of their life, and I want to change their lives. Great. Or it could be, I want to work with corporations or government agencies and enjoy their life in a way that maybe they never thought possible. So those three things seem to be the pillars, but underneath it all is really the feeling they have towards themselves and their life. And of course, that plays out in the feeling of everything in their life, people and things. So,
absolutely. If I can share a story of what you just said in action. I remember you were in Bangkok. That's what I think. First of all, you deserve a lot of credit. Like you're one of the mentors who like you show up. Like you'll show up in Bangkok to help me do stuff. And that's one of the things too that not only very impressed me, but it was so meaningful to me to know that, well, this guy, he will show up for you, wherever you are in the world. Like, he will show up on your doorstep and help you work. So it was one morning at the Sheridan, and we were working with one of my clients who who works at Amazon. I can say that. And I watched because I brought you over because I wanted to see you coach and I wanted to sit next to you and watch you do it. And we were coaching together. And that's one of the moments where it really shifted my coaching ability because there were things that you saw that didn't even blip on my radar. And I watched this person's energy change before my eyes. Like she literally looked younger by the end of the session. And I was like, how did I've heard people talk about it, but I've never seen it happen. And but getting to experience that in real life was very different than, let's say, watching it online on Zoom. But being in the room, experiencing that energy and watching you pick up things, that I did not even notice or on my radar. It blew my mind. And as a result of that, I now see those things better, or I slow down and I know, like, okay, this looks really interesting to me, but I wonder what else is here. And just being able to listen at a deeper level for those things. I thought that was really, really impactful. And then in that process, my own grounding deepened. And then enjoying coaching more and more because I understood it better. Because before, coaching was frustrating as hell to me. Like, why aren't they getting it? Why are they still stuck in their thinking? Am I not a good coach? It's all on me, right? So I'm a shitty coach. I should just give this up. To, oh, I was about this close. I was this close. And then all I needed was a little nudge to see it. And then, okay, now it's enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember that conversation vividly with your client in Bangkok. And I also remember because we had probably about an hour and a half break before the next
Yeah,
person
the
who
next
came in.
one. Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and in that, you said, what happened? And we then talked about listening differently.
Right.
And when we listen differently, what we notice i- is going on in the world of our clients is different. So what we notice, it could be a misunderstanding of how life works, or it could be a blatant thing that they don't even know that they know. But it's having something that I forgot this. Years ago, I used to do um, coach training that a little bit embarrassed about how kind of like helpful that was as opposed to life changing now. But,
Yeah.
give me a break. It was 20 odd years ago, right? But there was a part of that I'd call the coach's eye
Mm.
or the coach's ear. Maybe that's how I might describe it today as we sit here. Now, that matters is that we have the coach's ear and the coach's eye to really see what's going on behind the words and behind the thoughts of what our clients are up to and what they're up against. Because I remember then, in the weeks and even that day, we started exploring that together. And I know that's what makes a difference. Because without having our ability to listen, not to the content, but what's behind the scenes of what our clients are saying, then we are never going to be life-changing coaches. We're only going to be working at a superficial behavioral level. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I remember that vividly. And I also, you shared with me a message from that person
Right,
about a
right.
week ago, right?
I can share. So this person had gone back to their job at Amazon. And for context, this was the job that stressed the hell out, that stressed this person to hell. Like, they were stressed, they were frustrated, they were so not okay in this job. So much so that they left. But now they're back in the same job and they're happy. Same job, but they're happy. There and this person said to me, "Oh, I'm not trying to prove myself anymore. I'm not taking things so personally. It's like I leveled up and I'm not as stressed as I used to be about the same things that I'm dealing with." And for me, that is a huge transformation, to go back to the same circumstances and not respond to it the same way as before. Yeah. Like, how cool is that? And going back, so if you've been with us this long, going back to what I was saying earlier, is I can now tell that story with full confidence that that is available for every one of my clients and for myself too. Yeah, how cool. What a cool gig.
Yeah. So as we finish up, is there anything else that you would love people to hear about your experience and where you are right now?
That's a good question. I would say that go for it and roll the dice, and 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 that even when it looks scary as hell, to know that you're in really good hands, and that's what you're signing up for. You're signing up for the ride of your life. and you're in really good hands. And to you, Sir Wyn, thanks for helping me live the life of my dreams, make a shit ton of money, got married, and through it all became the person I've always wanted to be, which is more of myself and enjoying life more of the time. And that anybody who gets to work with you they're the lucky ones.
Thanks, Nikon. Thank you for sharing and for for suggesting that we have this video interview. The first step for you watching, get in touch, book some time, and we'll have a chat. No obligation. And the one thing that I don't do, I'm not a selling person. I won't be twisting anyone's arm because all I'll be saying in the same way that Nikon, that you just shared, I'll lay it out on the table once I've understood what you want and what I think might be going on for you that's in your way, and we'll get to I'll share that with you, and if it's something that you want to explore more or say no to or say yes straight away, it's fine by me. But just know that you can easily book time in my calendar and we can have a chat. So thank you, Nikon, and thanks to you for watching.
Thank you,
Speak
Wyn.
to you soon.
Really
Thank you. Bye.